Stop listening to your parents. Stop listening to your coworkers who bought their homes in 2015. And for the love of God, stop listening to the real estate agent who tells you you can marry the house and date the rate. Because in 2026, the rules of the game haven't just changed. The board has been flipped over, set on fire, and thrown out the window. You are likely scrolling through Zillow at midnight right now. You see a house listed for $500,000. In your parents' generation, $500,000 bought you a mansion with a circular driveway and a pool. Today, that $500,000 gets you a 1,200 square foot box with beige carpets from the early 2000s, a kitchen that smells like desperation, and a roof that's maybe 2 storms away from collapsing. In dozens of major US markets, $500,000 is no longer a luxury price point. It is the baseline. It is the absolute floor for anything habitable that doesn't require a hazmat suit to enter. But here is where the math stops making sense. The median household income in the United States is hovering around $84,000. Yet the median home price is pushing $500,000. We are asking normal people earning normal salaries to buy entry-level homes that cost 6 times their annual gross income. If that ratio sounds insane to you, it's because it is. Historically, a healthy ratio is 3 to 1. We are at double the danger zone. But nobody tells you this. The bank pre-approves you. The TikTok influencers tell you to buy real estate to build generational wealth. Society screams at you that renting is throwing money away. So today, we're going to do something that the entire real estate industry is terrified of. We are going to ignore the pre-approval letter. We don't care what the bank says you can borrow. Banks don't care if you eat ramen for the next 30 years. They only care if you pay them back. Instead, we are going to run the brutal, unvarnished math on who can actually afford a $500,000 house in 2026 without turning their life into a stress-fueled nightmare. And I promise you, the number at the end of this video is going to make you angry. Let's start with the first lie you've been told. The down payment. The gold standard of financial advice says you need to put 20% down to avoid private mortgage insurance and get a decent rate. On a $500,000 house, that is $100,000 in cash. Let that number sit in the air for a second. $100,000. The median savings account balance for an American under 35 is roughly $8,000. Even for those between 35 and 44, it's rarely above $20,000. So, to get to that $100,000, you aren't just a little short. You are effectively destitute compared to what the market demands. Just save more, they say. Okay, let's play that game. Let's say you are a disciplined saver. You squeeze your budget and manage to save $1,000 a month, which is incredibly difficult for most families today. At that rate, it will take you nearly 8.5 years to save $100,000. But wait, you can't buy in 8 years. Because in 8 years, that $500,000 house will likely cost $700,000 or more. You are chasing a finish line that is moving faster than you can run. So what happens? You don't put 20% down, you put down 5% or maybe 3.5% FHA. You scrape together $25,000 from savings, tax refunds, and maybe a loan from your parents. You feel victorious. You got the house, but you didn't just buy a house. You just signed up for a poverty tax called PMI Private Mortgage Insurance. This is the most misunderstood fee in real estate. People think mortgage insurance covers them if they get sick or lose their job. It does not. PMI protects the bank in case you default. You are paying a monthly premium to insure the bank against your own financial failure. It is anywhere from $200 to $400 a month of pure waste. It builds no equity. It pays down no principal. It is literally the cost of being too poor to have $100,000 in the bank. By entering the market with low equity, you are already starting the race with a 50-pound weight strapped to your ankles. But honestly, The down payment is the easy part. The real horror show begins when the monthly bills start arriving. Let's look at the monthly payment. This is where the math gets deceptive. If you go to a mortgage calculator online, type in a $475,000 loan amount after your small down payment at a 6.5% interest rate, it spits out a number, roughly $3,000 per month. You look at your budget. You and your partner bring home maybe $5,500 a month. You think, okay, $3,000 is tight. It's more than half our take-home pay, but we can make it work. We'll cook at home more often. You are walking into a trap. That $3,000 figure is a lie because it only covers principal and interest. It ignores the big three of homeownership costs that have exploded in 2026. First, property taxes. On a $500,000 home, depending on whether you live in Texas, New Jersey, or somewhere in between, you are looking at another $500 to $800 a month. And unlike your mortgage, this number never goes away. In fact, as your home value goes up, your taxes go up. You are renting your land from the government forever. Second, the silent killer, homeowners insurance. This used to be a boring, predictable line item. Not anymore, thanks to climate change. Once-in-a-century storms are happening every 2 years. Insurance carriers are pulling out of Florida, California, and Louisiana. In the rest of the country, premiums are skyrocketing. You need to budget at least $250 to $400 a month for this. And if you are in a flood zone, double it. Third, maintenance. The old rule was save 1% of your home's value per year for repairs. On a $500,000 house, that's $5,000 a year, or roughly $417 a month. But in 2026, with the cost of labor and materials, 1% is conservative. A new HVAC system is $10,000. A new roof is $15,000. A plumbing disaster is $5,000. These aren't if events, they are when events. If you aren't putting that $417 aside every single month, you are essentially living on credit. So let's do the real math. Mortgage, $3,000. Property tax, $600. Insurance, $300. Maintenance reserve, $450. PMI, $250. Your actual cost to live in that house is not $3,000. It is $4,600 per month. That is a 53% increase over the sticker price the bank showed you. And we haven't even turned on the lights, paid the water bill, or paid for the internet yet. At this point, you might be thinking, well, obviously a median income family can't afford this, but I make good money. My spouse and I, we make $160,000 a year combined. We are upper middle class. We are safe. Are you? Let's put a $160,000 household through the $500,000 house test. This is the part that terrifies me the most. Meet the Johnsons. They earn $160,000. That sounds like a fortune. It sounds like I made it money. But let's strip it down. After federal tax, state tax, Social Security, Medicare, and a responsible 10% contribution to their 401k because they want to retire before they die, their monthly take-home pay is roughly $9,500. Now, subtract the real housing cost we just calculated, $4,600. They are left with $4,900. Still sounds like a lot, right? Almost $5,000 of disposable income? Wrong. This is where the cost of being a working professional in America eats you alive. To earn that $160,000, they both work. That means they need 2 cars to commute because public transit in most US cities is a joke. 2 car payments plus insurance and gas, that's easily $1,400 a month. They likely have student loans because you generally don't get $160,000 jobs without expensive degrees. Let's call it a modest $600 a month. They have 2 kids. If those kids are in daycare, That's $2,500 a month gone. But let's assume the kids are in public school, so they just pay for after-school care and summer camps, averaged out $800 a month. Groceries for a family of 4 in 2026, $1,000 if they are careful and clip coupons. Utilities, heat, electric, water, internet, cell phones, $500. Let's tally that up. Remaining cash, $4,900. Expenses, $1,400. Cars, plus $600. Loans, plus $800. Kids, plus $1,000. Food, plus $500. Utility, equals $4,300. They have $600 left. $600. That $600 has to cover clothes, medical copays, dental work, car repairs, birthday gifts, furniture, and any semblance of entertainment. If one of them loses a job, bankrupt in 3 months. If the car transmission blows up, put it on a credit card at 24% interest. If they want to take a family vacation, they can't. This family is earning nearly double the national average, and they are living paycheck to paycheck. They are one bad medical diagnosis away from financial ruin. They are living in a beautiful $500,000 house, but they are prisoners inside it. They can't afford to leave it to go out to dinner. They are house poor in the most brutal sense of the word. And remember, this is the best case scenario for high earners. If you are making $100,000 or $120,000 trying to buy this same house, you aren't just stretched. You are mathematically underwater before you even sign the deed. So why? Why is the entire world telling you to buy? Why does your mortgage broker congratulate you on getting approved for a loan that will suffocate you? Why does your real estate agent push you to bid over asking price? Because the system is designed to transact, not to sustain. The bank originates the loan and often sells it to investors or government-backed entities within weeks. They collect their fees and wash their hands of the risk. They don't care if you struggle in year 5 because they've already made their profit in year 1. The agent makes 3% of the sale price. The more you spend, the more they make. Asking an agent if you can afford a house is like asking a barber if you need a haircut. The answer is always yes. But the most insidious pressure comes from our culture. We have normalized financial misery. We have rebranded being broke as building equity. When you tell your friends you are renting, they look at you with pity. They say, rent is throwing money away. You're paying your landlord's mortgage. Let's kill this zombie argument once and for all. Yes, rent is money you don't get back. But you know what else is money you don't get back? Interest paid to the bank. Property taxes paid to the county, insurance premiums paid to the corporation, maintenance costs paid to the contractor. In the first 10 years of a 30-year mortgage, roughly 70 to 80% of your monthly payment goes to interest, not principal. You are renting money from the bank. And unlike a landlord, the bank won't come fix your toilet when it breaks. Owning a home is not just an asset, it is a liability column filled with unrecoverable costs. And when those costs exceed your ability to live a free, low-stress life, that home is not a blessing. It is a curse. So, what is the answer? Who can actually afford the $500,000 house? Financial experts used to say housing should be 28% of your gross income. But in this high-tax, high-inflation environment, we need to look at net income, your actual take-home pay. A safe metric is keeping total housing costs under 30% of your net pay. Using our calculations, the real cost is $4,600 a month. For $4,600 to be 30% of your take-home pay, you need to bring home roughly $15,300 a month. To bring home $15,300 a month after taxes and deductions, you need a gross annual household income of roughly $250,000. That is the magic number, $250,000. That puts you in the top 5% to 7% of U.S. households. If you earn less than that, buying a $500,000 home requires sacrifice. At $200,000, it's uncomfortable but doable. At $160,000, it's risky. At $120,000, it's suicide. I am not telling you this to crush your dreams. I am telling you this to give you permission. Permission to rent without feeling like a failure. Permission to say no to a market that has lost its mind. Permission to prioritize your peace of mind over a title deed. Because here is the secret that wealthy people know. Wealth is not equity. Wealth is margin. Wealth is having money left over at the end of the month to invest in the S&P 500, to travel, to start a business, to breathe. If you buy a house that consumes your margin, you aren't building wealth. You are building a prison cell with granite countertops. So look at the math, your personal math, not the bank's math. If the numbers don't work, stay on the sidelines. Rent cheap. Invest the difference aggressively. Let the compounding interest of the stock market build your net worth, while others are drowning in repair bills and property taxes. There is no prize for being house poor. The only prize that matters is freedom, and sometimes the price of freedom is refusing to play a rigged game. If you are tired of the financial lies and want the brutal truth that banks are afraid to tell you, hit subscribe. We don't sell fantasies here. We build real wealth. Choose freedom.